Hey guys, the book is getting so good. I'm going to read a couple more tonight and then I think I'll call it quits. So, chapter 35. First things first, there was a woman in the cave. Second, she was short, and in shorter than my mom. She wore a red robe like nobody's and stood on the rickety wooden stool with her back to me. In her hand was a hefty, no, make it a huge stone hammer that she was pounding into something I couldn't see from where I stood. Sparks flew. I ducked as one sailed over my head and into the pool. Better get out of the way, she said with a grunt. Slam, yet another whiz of light. You're a Spockstrider. She had to be. I couldn't believe I found her. Okay, so maybe nobody wasn't too bad after all. Then I remembered I was wearing the stupid mask. When I went to take it off, the woman said, I wouldn't do that if I were you. Could be calamitous. What did she have? Like, have eyes in the back of her head? You mean bad? I mean, this light will fry your eyes out of your sockets. Definitely left the mask on. Her red hair was all ratted like a nest, and there were teeny tiny silver trinkets, bells woven into knotted strands as she turned to me. Her face was uneven in places where it shouldn't have been. Her nose was bent a little too. Far to the right was her right eye, sagged an inch below her left. Her forehead had a lump in the center that looked like a giant mosquito bite. I thought you'd never get here, she said. You're the, yes, she said impatiently. Now hurry over here so I can make sure this fits. Fits! She rolled one of her eyes to the other one stayed in place, like it was glued there. When I drew closer, I peered down at the stone table she'd been working from. It looked like it could double for a body slab. Right in the middle was a cane. And I'm not talking any cane. I'm talking ninja style hammer silver with the jade grip. I'm talking the kind of cane that looked cool. Like if you saw me walking down the street with it, you might stop and ask me, where did you get that? So I could get one too. Well, just don't stand there. Pick it up. She shook her head, but strangely, the tiny bells didn't ring. As I reached the cane, it started to hum. Then, when I closed my fingers around it, the thing went silent. I don't remember exactly, but I think it was holding my breath because I felt like a really big moment. Like whatever happened next would matter a lot. Carefully, I picked up the cane. It was as light as air and felt warm to the touch. I could swear it pulsed in my hand. I set its tip on the ground, turned, and took a step with it. The cane was incredible. Wait a sec. That can't be right, I thought. My limp, it was gone. My eyes bugged out, and my heart rolled over. Then a slow, simple smile spread across my face. A few more steps, she said, eyeing me as I took another turn. I seriously could have cruised around like this all day. How? It's amazing. Of course it is, she cried. It's more than it appears. It also is a spear and will do as you command. I inspected it more closely while she went on about its magic. How do I turn it into a spear? There's a hidden button or something? Do you tell your legs to walk or your arms to move? Was that the real question? She snorted and added, it's connected to you now. I pounded it with lightning, bounded it with old magic, and infused it with the blood of the gods. Or more specifically, your father's blood. An indestructible Zane Obsbio. My father's blood. First time he's ever even given me a drop, she said. Mighty powerful stuff, too. He's considered to be the creator, God. Sorry, Matt. I'm totally sure she meant you, too. For now, the grand finale, she said. Go choose a bolt. I looked around a little over the cave for the first time. The rocky walls jutted out sharply, making a tight space, feeling even tighter. There were no tools around, no screws, no bolts. I don't see any bolts. Lightning bolts, her voice rose so loud that it shook the stone walls. The pool! I looked over my shoulders, then back to her with a "you've got to be kidding me" expression. You want me to touch one of those things? You must choose one in order for this to work, she said, holding the hammer over her shoulder like she was ready to use it on me. Now hurry up. For what to work? The cane? She must have registered my reluctance to stick to my hand in the water and touch the lightning bolt. Do you think I'd go to all this effort, pounding lightning like I haven't done it in centuries, just so I could watch you fry your puny brain? Point taken. I went over to the pool and squatted down the bolts, zipped through the water like a racer fish. As I reached in, she yelled, "Wait!" What? I stumbled back. The Spock Strider stepped down from her stool. Do you have any allergies? Allergies to lightning, electricity, white, hot energy? Pretty sure I don't. Now, not that I'd ever touched the lightning or a hot white energy before. That's good. Then, with a nod of her chin, she motioned me to continue. I dipped my right hand to the pool, felt a burst of heat on my skin, but it didn't scald me. The bolts zipped past, weaving through my grasp. Then they went still, except for one. It slipped into my hand, and I lifted it out of the water. It was like holding a warm tinfoil wrapped burrito fresh from the oven, except this pulse like a living thing. I went back to the cave and handed it over to the Spock Striker. She examined it and then muttered, "It'll do," as if each bolt was unique. Maybe they were. Stepping onto the stool, she said, "Well, climb up here." I didn't like where this was going. "What for?" "So I can pound this into your leg." I swallowed, did a double take, almost laughed. Are you kidding? You want to pound my leg with lightning? That's what I said, isn't it? I don't think that's such a good idea. I mean, my leg, it already doesn't work too good. And this is why the gods and humans don't mix. Never can tell what you're getting into. She set her hammer down her hammer. Zane, your father is the heart of the sky. Yeah, I know. He's very powerful. Uh-huh, I already knew that too. She looked down at my bum leg and then back to me. He's also the serpent leg. Yeah, and he passed it on to me, I said, swinging my bad leg. She smacked her skinny lips together. A typical human would assume that a serpent leg is useless. But in a god, the power of the serpent leg is unparalleled. You're trying to tell me my bum leg is powerful? Your leg, she said slowly, is the most powerful part of you, not the weakest. It is the doorway to your magic, the only clue to your ancestry. Someone needed to give her a reality check. Are you going to tell me to run with the storm too? Why? For all the love of that holy, would I tell you to run with the storm? Because I'm the storm runner. Her eyes flashed some sort of recognition. That name was given to you by a goddess. Okay, I said, neither confirming or denying it. The god's language is hard to translate for the human mind, she said. There are many meanings. One, it can also mean, how do I say, channeled? It could conduit power. I'm like a channel of the storm. Slowly, the gears in my mind started to rotate. So the demon runners were channels of the demon power. She wrapped her knuckles around my forehead. Are you understanding what I'm telling you, Storm Runner? She was starting to irritate me. Maybe you could just give me the bottom line. You, she paused. You are the storm, and the storm is you. Okay, so I wasn't prepared for that, and I opened my mouth to shout, what the holy heck are you talking about? She held up her hands. The storm sleeps inside of you. Once I pounded the lightning into your leg, it will awaken and race through your blood and bones like a hurricane of magic. It will locate your dominant power. Power? Yes, your father, god of storms, fire, and wind. Are you even paying attention? Don't give me that sour face. We need to know if any of his strengths was passed on to you. Fire and wind. Hello, she said with an annoyed look. Your father, heavy hitter, creator and destroyer. Fine, the guy's tough. But what do you mean by dominant? Hurricane has many powers. Not all of them have been passed to you. Sometimes that epic would kill any human. We need to find out where you're strongest. Now I was following. So my powers have nothing to do with running. She wiped her brow with frustration. The storm runs through you, in you. You and the storm must become one, which is why I must pound this lightning into you. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. She shook her head, and again the bells in her hair shifted but didn't ring. You could also possess nothing of true value. Storms need a place to spend their power, and you may be terrible vessel with no ability to control any of it. Nothing of true value? Terrible vessel? Well, that would officially stink. Now, do you want to know the truth of your ancestry? I nodded slowly. Then let me do my job. Up you go. I climbed onto the stone slab and laid back as she gripped the bolt, both the bolt and the hammer. Wait! What? Is it gonna hurt? She set a glowing thing over my leg and raised her hammer. More than you know. Chapter 36. Note to self. Never ask somebody if it's gonna hurt unless you're 100% prepared for the truth. And no way, Jose, was I prepared for the Spock Striker's answer. My leg felt like a million branding irons were being pressed into it. The pain was so awful I couldn't even scream. The world exploded in brilliant streams of white, like I was being shot through the meteor shower. I had to close my eyes. Heat spread through me now. Then everything went quiet and still. I was in the empty, but how? I no longer had the jade. I was in the open temple on top of the pyramid. I blinked and looked down at my body. I had spotted the paws again and the muscular jaguar legs. With a deep breath, I shook myself and started searching. Hurricane! My voice echoed across the plaza, below the ricketing between the stone buildings. There was no answer. I bolted to the other side of the temple, calling for him. The sun was setting over the sea, and the empty felt exactly like that. Deserted, abandoned. Hurricane! I yelled. Could use a little help. About now. I paced across the temple, scanning the jungle below. Maybe he was mad I hadn't listened to his advice about the twins. Did he need to tell me that he was right about not them helping me? That I made a huge mistake. His voice found me first. I knew you'd show up. Then he materialized in some Black Panther form. Yeah, I sort of wanted to nuzzle the guy, but only because I was relieved to see that he was actually there. You didn't tell me I was going to get lightning pounded into my leg. No sense worrying you, he said. Sometimes it's better not to know what's coming. Hmm. So, not comforting. I sat back on my haunches. The sun was setting, and everything, the trees, the skies, the sea, looked tranquil. Like they were all taking a deep breath. I lost the jade. He nodded slowly, but didn't say anything. His eyes blazed brilliant green. I stood and walked closer. So how am I here? The ceremony of the Spock Striker is performing would have brought you to me. Ceremony? That was interesting word choice to me. I would have used torture. The power is she is going to find, I asked. She isn't going to find anything. The lightning bolt that you chose, that's the source that will uncover the truth. He stalked closer. But you already know the answers, don't you? Yeah, pretty sure. I wouldn't be here if I knew the answer. Maybe I'd simply be here to avoid the I'd rather die pain. I want to show you something. We're headed down to the shore, stood beneath a group of tall, leafy trees. The sand was white, soft, and warm. The sun was a ball of fire, lowering itself onto the water slowly. Hurricane said, "Close your eyes." "What, why?" He gave me a look. I closed my eyes. "What do you see?" he said. "Darkness." "Try it again. Imagine yourself on the table. Imagine the lightning coursing through your blood. Imagine the lightning as a part of you." I did what he asked, and as I did it, my fingertips tingled like before. A terrible heat started to rise in me. So hot, I imagined it was on the surface of the sun. It raced through my blood like before. It felt too big to contain. I opened my eyes and whispered, "Tire." If a jungle cat could smile, it would have been. Looked like the expression Huracan gave me. "Ah," he said, "the son of fire." Surprising. When someone tells you you're the son of fire and it's your dominant power, you sort of want to pump your fists and pour in the air and holler, "Awesome!" So, yeah, I did. Totally impulse, then wait. You said surprising. Why? As the Spock Striker told you, not all powers of the storm can be passed you without killing you. I would have predicted wind or rain. Something less moody. What do you mean less moody? I didn't know the elements had bad days. Fire is my least favorite element. Fire is my least favorite element. The more challenging. His tail swished through the air. Challenging? It's not easy to control and highly unpredictable. I don't like unpredictability. Okay, so fire is my power. Do I like throw flames at you know who? Barbecue the guy? Will that do the trick? First, you have to open the gateway in your leg. How? Do you feel it? The pulsing? The energy bound there? I focused on my bum leg. Huracan was right. When I isolated my thoughts to this one part of me, a strange energy pulsed my entire body. It was amazing. Now, feed the flame with your life source. And what? You need a source of heat, he mentioned towards the sun. Draw in the power. I was about to ask, how the heck do I do that? When he added, call it to you. I remembered the way I'd felt the night at Jack in the Box. Some external force had found its way to me, and my fingers had tingled with some kind of heat. I inched closer to the sea. The waves lapped my feet, following my instinct. I drew the sun and felt the heat building in me. Slowly at first, then fast. Too fast, I couldn't breathe. Hurricane said, "Let it go." I raised a paw, thinking maybe I shoot fireballs out of it or something, but nothing happened, except the heat kept rising. I started to panic. "Relax, Zane," Hurricane commanded. Easy for you to say. He wasn't being cooked from the inside out. You have the power, Zane. The fire answers to you. Feed it with your breath. Yes, like that. Steady, deep breaths. Except for my breath wasn't smoking right out of my nose. In no way could I relax. I began to hyperventilate. The burning snaked its way through me at an unimaginable speed. I stared for the water, and with a first panic stride, I saw my claws were glowing red, as an iron forging red. "Zane!" Hurricane shouted as he blocked my path. "Release it!" "I need the water." "No! If you take the easy way out, you'll never learn to control it. Trust me." The power was building heavy and strong. It was so hot I thought I was going to combust. Puffs of smoke curled from my nose and my mouth. I spun, let out a fierce roar, and slashed the tree trunk with my burning claws. The trunk burst into flame that spread to the leaves and then to the next tree and the next. A second later, a huge wave formed, curling taller than the 10-story building, and crashed down on our heads. I spun bindingly underwater. Just as quickly as I receded, I shook my body like a dog trying to drive. Hurricane sighed. "Maybe a little bit more force next time. Focus." It was burning me alive. It will destroy you if you don't release its power. The energy has to go somewhere. Do you understand? I nodded, still out of breath, and wondered if I ever wanted to be called fire to me again. I thought using my power was going to be easy, or at least natural. But if you can't control it, I said angrily, then how am I supposed to be able to? I never said I couldn't control it. I said the fire was very challenging, Zane. Yeah, no kidding. At the same moment, the world began to spin wildly, like it was in a dryer on high. Looks like the spark striker's done, he said. Wait, what? What if I never learn to control it? It's your dominant power. It will yield eventually. But you really should be friendlier to it. I started to ask if I could trade fire for something easier, but I was already flying back. An instant later, I sat on the Spock Striker's table with my nose dripping blood. Oh, yeah, I'd forgotten about a little side effect of traveling to the empty. I blotted it with my shirt. It's fire, I sputtered. A slow smile across the Spock Striker's face. Then a bell in her hair gave a small jingle. She looked over her shoulder at the cave opening. Blasted hounds of hell. What? Blasted what? No more time, she said, shooing me out of the cave. My lightning pounced leg buzzed with an incredible strength. But you said blasted in hell in the same sentence. That can't be good. What does that mean? When my bell rings, it tells me someone's arrived in the old world. I knew I wasn't going to like the answer, so I didn't ask the question. But she told me anyway. Our pooch is here, Zane. Are you ready? End of chapter 36. I think we're going to hit something really good in the last couple of chapters. All right, we'll wait till next time to hear.